Hey, what up, what up, what up? It's Caleb. First of all, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Ramadan, whatever holiday I'm missing. Happy December, happy end of the year. We're at the end of 2025. That's crazy. I always do a video on the 31st, so I'll get more into like my previous year and the upcoming year on that day. But you know what it is. It's Convos with Caleb, unedited, unfiltered. And I'm not a podcast bro. I just hop on here every now and then, drop some game on you. I'm actually a pianist. Go check out the other videos I just recorded. I'll be home for Christmas. Christmases. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, it's Thursday. I'm actually not going home for Christmas, unfortunately. I won't be with my family this year. But most of the years I am, and I do love that song. So go check that out. Today, real simple, real quick, real wisdom, especially going into the new year and looking back, not just this year, but my entire life. Um, I've had a lot of success and I've had a lot of failure, and a lot of what I look back on and reflect on nowadays, some of the mistakes I've made, and I'm sure you can relate to this. We all make mistakes. It's inevitable. So my point on this video is not to come on here and tell you not to make mistakes. That would be delusional. And there's nothing worse than being delusional. That's a note right there for you too. There's nothing worse than being delusional. Do not be delusional. I have been delusional in the past many times before. Mistakes. But my point in here, as I was saying, is not to say that you're not going to make mistakes, because you are. Here's what you need to know. Some mistakes are bigger than other mistakes. Some mistakes, if you're not careful, will set you back years. And it's going to take a lot of clawing back, a lot of digging back to the surface, just to get back to ground level from this crater that you made, from this ginormous mistake that most likely your intuition and the Holy Spirit and God and you yourself, your other self, the two selves, whatever philosophy you follow, religion, and however you want to think. I know you realize that there's some type of compass within us. And sometimes we go against that compass. Sometimes we don't feel that compass, and the mistake is made in ignorance. Either way it goes, some mistakes are so colossal, and they create such big craters in our life and others' lives. Sometimes we don't get out that crater. Sometimes we never get back to ground level. But in the case of fortune and a change of winds and a change of character and a change of heart and a change of values, sometimes we do claw ourselves out of this colossal mistake. Here's what we need to do. We need to be aware. We need to be confident. Super important. We need to reflect. You know, it's really bad to go all of 2025 and then reflect only one time at the very last day of the year. This is what happened this year, and this is what happened this year. I'm gonna do this better this year. I journal every single day. You should journal too. I reflect on my weeks. I reflect on my months. I reflect on my days. Not just like laying in my bed where the automatic stuff is going on, you know, of this was happening today, and most of the time a lot of anxious thoughts and boom boom boom. But actually sitting down, in my case I recommend pen and paper, sitting down with a pen and paper and reflecting. How did this day go? What were my wins? What were my losses? How did this week go? What were my wins? What were my losses? Oh, you know what? That was a mistake. Before it turns into a giant crater that I have to spend 3 years to dig out of, let's go ahead and fix that. Remediate. I can't pronounce it. You know, this is unedited. It's Convos with Caleb. Remediate. Let me remediate that situation so that it doesn't turn into a giant crater. Let me catch this mistake before it turns into another mistake. You know, they say the same thing. They say the same things about. You'll have to excuse me. I have a lot on my mind, and sometimes it's hard for me to turn that into words. Convos with Caleb. You know what it is. Uncut, unedited. They say the same thing about lies. You know, you tell a lie, and you have to keep telling lies, and before you know it, your entire life's a lie. I found myself in that situation. You know, thankfully, I have stopped with the petty lies and all that kind of nonsense, but it really does lead down a dark path, and it's the same thing with mistakes. A lot of times we know a day after, a week after, a month after of of going through the process that, hey, you know what, that was a mistake, let me fix that. But a lot of times it's painful to look at our mistakes, and so what was just a little tiny itty bitty uh, little hole in the ground eventually gets a little bigger, and eventually gets a little bigger, and eventually gets a little bigger, and now we find ourselves in situations where this is not abstract. This is not abstract. We make mistakes in our relationships, with our money, with with real life situations that have real life consequences. And a lot of times, the bigger the mistake, the longer it's going to take for us to claw back. So let us be more aware. Let us be more confident. Let us do more reflection, and just try our best to live with virtue and righteousness and to do good. Try our best to tap in to that compass that you know is there guiding you along, telling you this needs to be done and that needs to be done, and we can't get to this before this gets done, and this order, this perfect order, what I believe to be, of our lives. Um, and we get anxious, and we get to a point in our life sometimes where we see that thing that's supposed to be ours, and we try to go around and shortcut the path and take it for ourselves, and that's a mistake. Sometimes it's a big mistake. Sometimes it can cost you years. So let's just be better. As I said, I'm gonna get back on here before the new year, and we'll reflect together. We'll reflect on some of my mistakes this past year, and just reflect on what potentially could be a mistake that you don't know about currently, that is your life, that is in your life. Your entire life is not a mistake. I can guarantee that one. But sometimes we allow things in. Sometimes, like I said, we like to take shortcuts, and we cause problems. So we need to limit that. We need to fix the current problems we do have, and most importantly, we have to dig deep, turn inward. When all else is going crazy on the outside, which all else is going crazy on the outside, I'll be the first to say. Outside of me, it's chaos. Most of the time I'm looking around. But I turn inward, and I work on myself. And the more that I turn inward, and the more that I learn about myself, and the more that I work about myself, and this will be the same for you, the more that compass becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. And the more that we can stick to that compass and stay on the path that is our lives, the less colossal the mistakes will be, and the less time we have to spend trying to dig ourselves back just to get to the starting line. Stay on the path, my boy, my girl, whatever you are.